the river, on sails of ships, in the marshes, clouds of light and dark, on the wind and forest air, tempests and byways cold and stark. There and everywhere, shadows never parting. Your every line I've read, on the river, on sails of ships, in the marshes, clouds of light and dark, on the wind and forest dance, tempests and byways cold and stark. There and everywhere, shadows never parting. Your every line I've
You're listening to Chameleon Church, biblical antidotes for the modern man, with your host, Allan Aguirre.
Good morning.
I know, I'm messing with you.
There you go.
If you're ever like on camera, this is an old trick. If you're ever on camera and you're singing, I forgot what it was. Oh, is it Elephant Shoe? No, Elephant Shoe looks like I love you. Right? There's something that you say, so it makes it sound like you're actually singing along. I forgot what it was.
Good morning. Getting snow? Are you getting snow up there?
No.
Is it warm?
No,
No.
but we were sent an alert that Thursday through Sunday was going to be like brutal, like crazy, 6 to 12 inches. It just like we were going to get hammered, and we had community Shabbat. So people that obviously down in the, people don't come up the mountain. They're not going
Right.
to. And so we had people that didn't come because of that. Nothing, not even a dusting. Safra and the kids came over and they spent the night, so we had a good time. Corin and Elise showed up, but driving from here to Colville, they through Park City, they got into some snow on the way home. But no, in fact, Elise posted something about here's our storm day. Here's our storm day hike, and they're out hiking with the dogs and stuff. Nothing. Here's our storm day afternoon, and it's like there's no snow anywhere, and they're out there with all the horses and stuff. It's just no, we didn't get anything. I mean, I'm not complaining. I don't see. And Christina actually last night said I could handle a winter where the snow's over there and there's no snow over here. I mean, that's the way it used to be in real life, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember, we'd live in the valley, we'd live in Burbank or whatever, and there's snow up in the mountains. There's snow up in Angeles Crest, or there's snow up in Arrowhead or Big Bear, I mean, right? Well, so when I explain to people where I live, I explain to them, you know how you have San Gabriel Valley, and then you have whatever you have the valley down below, the mesa. Yeah, well, it's like if we lived up in Big Bear or Arrowhead, and they're like, oh, that's weird. I'm like, yeah. That's our life. We live like in Big Bear and Arrowhead, and you guys live down here. Yeah, that's the best way to explain it.
Oh yeah,
people go to where we live to do stuff, not the other way around. Anyway, so yeah, no snow, but I'm good with the no snow. It's okay if we don't have snow. I'm okay if we don't have a lick of snow.
I haven't missed it a bit.
May. What's that?
Hey, Kris. Good morning.
What did you say, Lenny?
I said I haven't missed it a bit.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah, but it gets a little nippy where you are. It's nippy.
Brutally chilly.
It gets nice. I mean, because you got that whole coastline thing going on.
I know. It's just the fog comes in and it is cold.
Yeah, if you're going to live by the beach, that's not the place to live. Well, I mean, it's beautiful and stuff, but it's a different beach.
And it's cold. You don't go swimming at this beach.
Yeah, well, it's not that type of beach though, too, either. So, what's up, Mr. Rosentrater?
Good morning, guys.
The papers. Did you sign the papers?
Scary.
I know, right?
Scary.
What's going on? So, what's going on, guys? What's happening?
Me and Linda saw something last night that intrigued us. We didn't know it was coming up. We were watching Hannity at the end, and they talked about Charlie Kirk's new book.
Oh yeah,
and it just got published, and it's all about the Sabbath. And
well, I know he was teaching about the Sabbath and stuff.
Well, he started speaking up. We just started listening to it. He goes, "You're saying," this is her saying to her, "You guys on Friday night put everything away and waited till Saturday evening." She goes, "Well, yeah, that's the real Sabbath. It's not church."
Yeah.
And so we went, "What?" And then he goes, "I've read the whole book." He goes, "You got to tell me more because this wasn't taught." And he just converted from Catholicism. He left the Catholic Church. And so we listened to it, and I'm going, oh my gosh. And we just started thinking, if that was published when he was alive, he would have got a lot of hit back from Christianity.
Yeah.
In so many different sectors. And I'm not saying that he won't, but they don't want to talk about the dead. And it's pushed even more that people are going to go get this book. It just got published. And that's why I was on there. And I'm going, they talked actual Sabbath. And it was not just a little 5-minute interview. So I'm going, wow, that means a lot of the nation saw that last night.
Yeah. It's weird, right? So interesting that you would bring that up because okay, so here's what. So last night while we were doing our Monday night gathering, my wife and daughter and all the grands went to the new Angel Studios animated David movie premiere. So it was a real big red carpet premiere. Getty Images was there. I mean, it was a big to do, you know. So they, we had, you know, so our friend that works at Angel, I've known her for 30 plus years. She's been a friend of ours forever. And she works for Angel. I mentioned that before. Our dear friend, we love her to pieces. So she was there. But anyway, so she hooked us up with this premiere thing where, you know, limousine, red carpet. Since Julian and Tikva have IMDb's, they were on the red carpet, photo op, step and repeat for Getty Images, stuff like that. Anyway, Phil Wickham's there. Marty Getz is there because they did the music. It's a big deal. I mean, they threw a lot of money at this thing, at this premiere. The premiere was here in town. All that to say, here's why I'm bringing, besides the fact that I was probably going to bring it up, but that's what the family did last night. I didn't get to go because I was doing Monday night. And it was a big, you know, it was a big deal, big to do. You know, so, you know, some celebrities and stuff. Anyway, my friend posted about half an hour ago a reel promoting the premiere. And, you know, people in line, people in the walking the carpet, people in the step repeat. You know, they had horse people. They were riding. You know, they had ponies for the kids. They had a petting zoo. You know, with sheep and all. I mean, they threw a lot of money at this thing. But here's what's really weird: in this whole reel that she threw up there, right? There's a little portion of it of someone making zit seats. Like braiding the zit seats. And I'm like, one, why was there somebody at the premiere last night making zit seats? And how did that get into the reel? How interesting is that, right? Because that's just not something you would put in there nilly-willy. You know, that's a deliberate thing to put in there. All that to say, with what you just said, big mainstream Sabbath thing. Well, this is a mainstream thing, and they just showed somebody braiding zit seats. Not that anyone's going to necessarily know what's going on when they see it, but how weird is that?
Sounds like the father's talking loudly.
Very strange. Yeah,
It is. We kept rolling back to say, is this what they're really saying? And it was. Going, wow.
It's just, well, you know, we talked about last night. We did chapter 4 last night. We're losing Kris left and right. Hey, Kris, you're going in and out. Big time.
My Wi-Fi is funky today.
Yeah. So, oh, okay. They weren't Z seats. They were braided bracelets, but it was part of the movie where David and Jonathan exchanged friendship bracelets. So they offered an activity to make your own bracelet. It looks like Z seats. If you go watch it, anyone that wears Z seats is going to go, they're making Z seats. Okay. That's what they were. They were friendship bracelets that David and Jonathan are wearing in the cartoons. Okay, that makes sense now. But dude, anybody that knows anything about Z seats are going to say that's footage of somebody making Z seats, because that's what it looks like. Interesting. So
Frozen. Frozen. The chosen Frozen. So, Kris,
Yo,
What do you if you do get a chance, you got to see that because it was
Stupid.
serious. I mean, what he was questioning this the lady with was pretty fascinating because it's like he goes, I've never seen or heard any of this kind of stuff before. And then she talked about just her relationship with her husband, what their personal and spiritual lives and how it changed him and changed their family, their whole family narrative. And that's what caught the attention. I'm going, whoa. It's like when Allan was on Michael Rood and he said, can you imagine if the children across the country saw mom and dad lay hands on each other? It had that same level of oomph. And I went, wow. Because it talked about the results. And that's what they were talking about. They went into the results of how it changed their lives, not just about the thing. And I went, oof, that people listen to that kind of stuff. Tell me, most women going, I crave for my husband to be the head of to sow into me and ask those kind of questions. You know, all the reality shows are centered around that in a lustful way, but deep down inside, they want connection. And that's what was portrayed last night. It's pretty fascinating. With God and with each other. So. Shabbat. So you guys catch it. I'd pull it up if you can. If you can get, it'll probably be on YouTube. So. Oh yeah.
Check it out. Well, what I was trying to say before the internet collapsed again, I don't know what the heck's wrong. I'm gonna have to call my internet people because this is happening all the time now in the last couple of weeks. Anyway, we were doing chapter 4 in Romans last night, and I know it's not totally out of context now because it was in context what I was going to say. We're just talking about Abraham. It's about Abraham and how. You said the Lord. You said, "Oh, it sounds like the Father speaking loudly." He is, because it's like people aren't listening. People aren't, or they're not getting it. But we're talking about how it's Paul in chapter 4 is going to literally lay out a whole foundational piece about Abraham and circumcision, because right. Chapter 1's about sin and sinners and how they do what they do deliberately and consciously. There's no way they can make an excuse for what they do because they know better, but they just choose not to do it. Chapter 2 is about hypocrite, Torah observer, circumcised Jew who's a hypocrite, and even though he's circumcised, he's not keeping Torah. Whereas a Gentile who's not circumcised that keeps Torah, it's Torah for him. And it's not about the physical circumcision; it's about the heart, the spiritual issue of the heart, the invisible intents of the heart, and he takes it into the spiritual realm. Chapter 2. Chapter 3 he starts laying out a foundation for Torah based on what he's talking about in chapters 1 and 2, right? I think chapter 3 could probably just be the foundation of Torah pretty easily. Powerful. Then in chapter 4, because he's using circumcision as his proof text, or he's using circumcision as his object lesson. And then he gets to chapter 4 and he talks about Abraham and like, look, this is where the covenant came through. It came through Abraham. Not only the covenant for the Hebrew people, starting with this Gentile, but the covenant of circumcision, the covenant of, and then he's talking about how it has to do with all three: faith, trust, and obedience, works, right? The works of obedience, Torah, and how they're all three. It's not one or the other, and one doesn't cancel out the other two, or the two doesn't cancel out the other one. All three work in unison together, and he explains that because the covenant was given to Abraham while he was still uncircumcised, based on his trusting, but he still was circumcised because of his trusting, right? And it's accounted unto him as righteousness. So he explains that in chapter 4. And I mentioned, and this is what I was going to say before the internet blew up. weird, right? Because you're seeing this thing on mainstream TV. I just saw a video that looked like zeets, but apparently they're friendship bracelets. People, and then I was talking about even here's Paul writing to Gentiles about their father Abraham. He's calling him Father Abraham in Romans. So he's basically telling Gentiles, Abraham is your father, the father of the Hebrew people, even though he was a Gentile, but because of the covenant circumcision, blah blah blah. And how Gentile Christians, mainstream Christianity today, sing that song, Father Abraham, right? But they don't understand what it is that they're saying when they sing that song. When they sing the song Father Abraham, they're basically saying Torah, 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 covenant, circumcision, and faith and works and grace combined, obedience, Torah. And they don't know that. They just literally have no idea what it is that they're singing or what they're associating themselves to or connecting themselves to, because it's through Abraham that whole spirit of adoption is going to come to them for Gentiles. So they have like no idea the depth of what it is that they're singing when they sing that song. Just like people don't understand what they just watched about Charlie Kirk and Shabbat and friendship bracelets that look like zeets.
Who knew?
Crazy.
Have you guys heard of this Hope in the Holy Land film?
No, what's that?
I'm late to the game.
I don't even know there's a game going on.
I'm late to the pop culture game. Delving beneath the surface of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. From what I understand, it was produced by Hope in the Holy Land. There's an org or something, Christian org. Anyway, this is a parallel to what you guys are talking about. I got reached out to this week from a local high school kid who's organized some, it's like this Israel awareness, Jewish girl. Fast forward, their rabbi emailed this week to invite me to dinner tomorrow. Short story is they want to show this film premiere. So it's this Jewish congregation on the island, and it's rabbinical. They're not, I don't, from what I read online, they're messianic. They're not messianic, but they're wanting to show this Christian film, which is interesting. And they want me to be on the panel at this film as the Christian evangelical input representative. So I mean, it's just really interesting. I'm praying about it, and I don't know. There's something about it's it's coming out. It's got like if they're too, there we go. Interesting. Yeah. So like it's interesting that it's coming up in pop culture, and if the Gentiles are here to provoke, right? And not necessarily how I would have thought or what's possible. It's interesting.
But that's why we're here to teach Gentiles on how and what they're supposed to provoke them in.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't know. Yeah. They're provoking them with a ham sandwich.
What an opportunity.
Well, the email they sent, and I replied last week, as just being upfront, hey, and it was a connection from a friend of a friend. So it wasn't a cold call, but hey, we know someone who's interested in. We know a Gentile that does this thing. And I said, hey, yeah, so yeah, raised in the church, but now I'm messianic, and
you can tell them raised in the church. Well, you're not messianic. Well, unless you're Jewish. Have we?
Well, yeah, but so I don't know how you say it, messianic Christian.
Well, you tell them, you go, I was raised in the church, but I'm not ignorant to the Hebrew roots of my faith.
Yeah, but just trying to tell them, hey, I'm not, I
you're Torah observant, not messianic, unless you're Jewish. Did we ever figure out that Rosentrater is probably Jewish?
Oh
I mean,
my
we all
gosh.
have.
Anyway, I'm just trying to be upfront. Hey, I believe Jesus was who you don't think he was, but they invited me anyway, so I don't know.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's a great entering point there. That's great. I believe Jesus is everything you don't think he is. Can we be friends?
Yeah, and
That's the holla.
it didn't scare him away. But it's so interesting is they're so I guess Reform Judaism. Basically it's like Unitarian version of Judaism.
Reform.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so they don't wear tassels. They don't eat clean. They don't do jack sweet.
Right, but they're showing an Israel-Palestinian film made by a Christian. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
My head hurts already. Dude, ask them. Have you watched five cameras yet? 5 broken cameras. That's a crazy one.
Oh man.
Well, that's rough. So your friends threw you at the fire, not knowing anything about what these people are, because again, Christians don't know anything about this stuff, so they don't know.
Yeah, she would mildly have a clue more than most, but she did reach out to me and stuff. She's like, "Hey, don't want to throw you in the fire here, but are you open?"
You keep the Torah more than they do.
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing. So I don't know. She's in high school, but the whole thing is there's been anti-Semitism at the local high school. So she started a club. So that's the purpose. Hey, we're trying to be inclusive, and hey, wait, trying to get teenagers and youth to see this Christian film on the perspective of it in defense of or against anti-Semitism. So it's just this interesting spin.
Imagine if Noella was still in high school with that going on.
Well, I'm trying to get her. She actually flies in tomorrow, so I'm trying to for the break. So for the Christmas break, so I'm trying to finagle her to there because she's into it. Noella's, and I've been talking to her about it, so she's like, "I want to go. I want to be there." So
how's the anti-Semitism at the university that she's at?
She hasn't really talked about it other than in some of her Bible classes or theology classes where the professor seems a little clueless. It's the typical. And Noella says, "I sit in the front row," and I'm like, "Be respectful." She's, "I am respectful. I sit in the front row." She's like, "I raise my hand." She's like, "Excuse me."
No.
Oh, what was the last one she said? They said something like, I don't know. She had the wrong count. She said how many chapters were in the book of John, and Noella's like, "No, that's not true." I don't know. Basic level knowledge, right? You got an A. You got an A in the class, so you get to teach now. Kind of a deal. But when the Charlie Kirk thing went down, and her school is one that had a rally, and then what's the Charlie Kirk charters for schools, whatever that is, where you can have
I forgot the name. Yeah.
So her school was one that signed the petition that were tens of thousands at new chapters or whatever, and then the administration a couple weeks later put out the thing where they're banning all. Essentially, you couldn't have a Charlie Kirk rally there in the future. It's under the third party. You can't have So it's just, I don't know. That's not anti-Semitism, but it's like so typical.
Yeah. From what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Christina. I think Julian wears his seats at school. I don't know if he has the Star of David necklace or something. But I know he wears his seats, and I don't think he's gotten any problems, which is good. You know, if I ever experienced, and well, we've seen some anti-Semitism here, but if I ever got hit with anti-Semitism here in Utah, I would go, "Excuse me, aren't you a Mormon?" Because they're either going to be, the chances are they're going to be a Mormon or they're going to be an ex-Mormon, and then I'm going to rip their whole freaking theology into their face about how they think they're Jewish, and that the whole Mormon church comes from a high priest line of, you know, do you guys know the story? All right, right? They believe that a high
Well, they
priest,
think they come from Melchizedek.
right? Well, besides that, but they believe that a high priest in the days of Jeremiah, right, took tablets from the temple and then rode to the Americas. Somehow
mailed them to Salt Lake.
Yeah, somehow this is like 400, 500, 600 years before Jesus, because it's in the days of Jeremiah. A Levitical priest came to the Americas with these tablets, and see, this is how their narrative begins, right? Which is why when you get sealed in the temple, they're told when you're married in the temple, the man is told what tribe of Israel he's from, and the wife is told what tribe of Israel she's from. Divination or discernment, right? They discern spiritually what Israeli tribe you're from. It doesn't matter what tribe they told their mom and dads were. So 30 years ago, when their parents did this ritual, they were told, "Oh, you're from Benjamin. Oh, you're from Dan." That doesn't matter because the kids are, "Oh, Judah and Levi." It's like it's insane, right? And then their kids are going to be told something completely different also. So they believe this. They believe they're literally from the Aaronic or at least Levitical priesthood line from the days of Jeremiah. So any anti-Semitism that comes up around here, that's the first thing I'm doing. That's my angle.
Yeah. Well, the anti-Semitism here is showing up as Free Palestine, you know, rallies and
Stupid
flags, like on the high school campus, and it's just like kids are so silly. Like you don't even know what's happening, dude. Like,
nope.
So
it's not on TV.
So, you know, you imagine a Jewish kid seeing that, they're, you know, not necessarily going to be like, hey, you know, being intimidated and feeling like people don't understand the real deal. I get it. Sad.
It's insane, but it's got to have something's got to. I mean, look at this is all this whole push has came from October 7th. You know, it's like we've been warning people for decades, literally decades, about anti-Semitism in this country to deaf ears. Now it's here, and they don't know and they don't understand it, and they don't know. Well, that's not what's going on here, Alan. You don't understand. These people are being oppressed. These people are living in an apartheid state. These people are no. What are you talking about? They have passports. They're free to go. Ask them. If you're born and raised in the Gaza, can you go to Europe and study abroad? Yes. That's not an open air concentration camp. That's not an open air prison. You know. They're able to. It's like, oh my God.
Sugar Tuesday, Kevin. This is coming. This show's for Kevin. Sugar Tuesday.
Wow. It's really ramping up. And it's
pinky in the wall. This one has spots, but I'm up against the wall. If I had my way. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, it's ramping up.
It's that line in the sand, and he's using it both ways. He's spanking Israel, saying, you know, are you going to come back to me? And those in the church, he's going to say, are you really going to side with Israel? And those in the natural and the political, it's dividing even in conservative areas. Oh my gosh, look at the things that are coming out now to protect from Jonathan Cahn against Tucker Carlson and all these other people that are cursing these things.
Yeah.
They're starting to speak up now.
All right.
And
So
the
Lenny,
heat's starting to rise. It's iron. It's coming against it big time.
so Lenny, I have a question for you. What happened to Candace Owen and Tucker Carlson in the last 2 years? What happened to them?
You know what happened to them? God is offending the mind to reveal the heart. That's what's happening to them, because their natural proclivity for compassion is skewed by the fear of the Lord and what the justice of God is. They don't understand that. They have all the other Christianese in line, but people are trying to define what they believe following Jesus is all about, and they're sorely misconstrued. And yet that they're trying to get the last vestiges of the Christian left, not trying to align with them, but saying, we're going to be, I hear it all the time, moved by love. And love is even being perverted, because it says God is love. But Jesus says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. All through John, 1 John 1, 2, and 3. And you try bringing that up to the Tucker Carlsons, to the Candace Owens, and it doesn't fly, because they say, no, that's not love.
That's a great answer, and that's why I asked you, because I knew you'd have a great answer. We talked about this last night a little bit. People don't understand that the rebellion, that's why the rebellion of Korah, in my opinion, is so important to understand.
It's powerful. Oof.
You know, you've got God's elect, God's hand-picked guy. Love him or leave him, you know, it was Moses. And the people turned against Moses and went with Korah. But they went with Korah because Korah was willing to take them back to Egypt. And they were okay with that. And right? And they didn't want to go forward under Moses. You know, it's like, wait, Moses, you said all this stuff was going to happen. None of it's happened. Where's our land? Nothing's happened. And Moses is like, you know, I'm just following God. This is God's deal, not my deal. Remember, it's like, you're not rebelling against me. You're not coming against me. You're coming against God. And he's right there. See him? He's watching you tell me this stuff, right? People, I mentioned this last night, they have this demonic disassociation with the biblical text. They can't put themselves in that place, in that time, in that situation, in that scenario. They read it and they're just reading something. It's theoretical. It's not an actual tangible thing that should permeate and change their heart. So it came up with, there were kings in Israel that were weak. There were weak kings in Israel. They were also considered wicked, besides being weak, because they became wicked because they were wicked because of their weakness. One of the factors of their weakness would be not towing the line of keeping the covenant, keeping Torah. But okay, so we read the Old Testament and we go, oh, okay, yeah, there's weak kings. These are bad kings. They're weak, right? As if they would not support that weak king, right? So, but what they don't realize is there were people back then that did vote. I use the word vote because that's something they'll understand, that they voted for that weak king. I know you don't vote for kings, but you understand what I'm saying. They supported, they championed, they rallied, they were, yay, God save the king or whatever. They were supporting those weak kings. There were people that actually supported the weak kings. You can read it and say, oh, I never would have done that, when that's not necessarily true. And there's a bunch of proof texts for that. So in the same way, there were weak leaders back then that people in mass supported. when we read it, not we, but when Christians read the Bible, they read it and they immediately say, "Oh, I wouldn't have been one of those people. I wouldn't have been like that. I wouldn't have supported that." That's not true, right? It was a small number. The sons of Issachar read the signs in the sky and determined that they should probably they needed to go with David, right? It was the sons of Issachar that knew to go with David, that knew to go with to do certain things that were against the grain because they were spiritual, they were prophets. So the sons of Issachar knew they should side with David, even though David was an enemy of the state. That automatically eliminates the majority. The majority are going to stay with Saul. They're not going to go with this David guy because he's an enemy of the state. Saul's trying to kill him. But the ones that were in the know prophetically went with David, sided with David, right? And then you got the whole Deborah thing. Anyway, so we read the text and we go, "Oh yeah, we wouldn't have been with Saul. We would have gone with David." No, you wouldn't. There's no way. How do we know that? Well, look at your life today. You voted for Obama. You voted for Hillary. You voted for Biden. You voted for the weak king. And you're saying, and you're doing this regarding Trump and your free Palestine and your BLM cards. That's how we know you're not that guy. And so when Jesus told the Pharisees, "You are of your fathers, the ones that killed the prophets," and what did they say? There's no way we would have sided with them. We wouldn't have sided with those that killed the prophets. We would have been on the right side of history, not on the incorrect side of history. And Jesus is like, "No, you're going to kill me." That's how I know you would have done that. So that's why I've always said, if you're making the mistake of voting Biden, voting Kamala, voting Hillary, voting Obama, as a Christian, you're probably going to vote for the Antichrist and you're going to miss Jesus because you don't have the discernment to discern between humans. You don't have the discernment to say, "Oh yeah, I shouldn't vote like that. I should vote for Trump," or "I should," you know what I'm saying? Whether you like Trump or not, it's besides the point. You got to go with what the prophet said. You got to go with the sons of Issachar, who know better than you. You don't have a prophetic clue. You don't even speak in tongues. Right? And so you have to follow the ones that can and do have that ability to discern. Because in the practical reasoning realm, you're going to go with Korah. You're going to stay with Saul. You're going to go with Obama and Hillary and Biden. See, you don't have the discernment. And so in the practical reasoning realm, you're going to go with the Antichrist because he's going to bring peace. He's going to bring world peace. Peace, right? That's what, right? There's that. What did you say? We're going to demonstrate love or whatever. He's going to bring peace. He's going to bring peace to the world.
And I'm telling you, even your Torah observant people, the deception that's coming is going to be so hard to discern that if you're not in obedience now, you think you're going to be in obedience then. And I'm just talking about the little type of thing that can trip you up. And you know what? That should scare the hell out of everybody. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm good enough. I know this. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's like if you didn't know that you shouldn't be picking up. You said no to Trump and picked up a BLM sign. You don't have any discernment. And somehow you're going to convince me that you're going to pick Jesus over the Antichrist? No, because the deception, like you just said, the deception that's coming is the worst the world has ever seen.
Allan, here's what scares me. The Lord says, "Are you ready to put the dagger over your child and trust me?" Do I have that kind of faith? That scares the hell out of me. And yet Abraham did that. And, you know, we look at the nice little Sunday school picture, but when you think about the reality of something like that, I want to fall on my knees and I go, God, strengthen me. And I'm not going to say everything's going to be that hard, but he said it's going to be that tricky in discernment.
Yeah.
And he
Well-
goes, you got to be obedient now.
Well, think about it. What's going to come before that? The false prophet. The false prophet. What does that mean? That means a false prophet on a global stage and people are going to believe him. And he's a false prophet. Why? Why will people believe him? Because you don't have discernment. And then you got these little toad lizard whatever things coming out of the ground that are doing stuff to humans. And this is all before the Antichrist, the anti-anointed one, the anti-Messiah guy shows up, right? And so this guy's going to bring, see, and that's the thing I've been trying to explain to Christians. The only person, right? Because the Christian left is all about love and inclusion and all that nonsense, right?
Can you see that? That's the book.
Oh, okay. So yeah, wow. So that's what the left's all about, right? And so when the Antichrist shows up, see, the only person in the biblical narrative that does, you can go to, there's a christianleft.com. They actually have a website and it tells you what they believe and how they believe and why they believe what they believe. Well, the problem is the only person in the biblical narrative that's going to do any of that stuff that they believe in is the Antichrist, because he's the one that's going to bring world peace, not Jesus. Jesus said, I didn't come to bring peace. There's a whole bunch about Jesus they leave out and forget about. The Antichrist is going to bring world peace. He's going to make economic stability, global economic stability. And to the joy of everyone, he's going to unite Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Coexist, baby. And they're all going to go, there's our man.
Yep.
You know this guy, this Muppet guy over in Minneapolis, Wentz, what's his name? The governor? What's his name, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it.
The one he ran for president or vice president with Kamala, didn't he?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, Tampon Tim.
Tim, yeah, whatever his name is, right?
Yeah.
He's being exposed for the charlatan that he is right now, right? With this whole Somalia thing, right? They wanted this guy. I can't tell you how many people I know that were championing this guy hard.
Tim Walz.
Hard. They wanted this guy in there. Waltz.
Tim Walz.
Walz, right. Okay. This guy is unraveling right now because they're exposing all the corruption and all the backdoor dealing and all the mess this guy's made with the money and Somalians and all that stuff, right? But the amount of people that wanted this guy in the White House is absolutely terrifying. Again, they have no discernment. They have no critical thinking skills. They're absolutely clueless, these people. And they're going to run with open arms to Antichrist because those of us, let me explain to you how easy this is going to be. Biden already branded us a threat to democracy. We're the number one threat to democracy because we're MAGA, right? And so they've already done this. The line's already been drawn. It's not going to be drawn. They've already done it. It's us and them. They're the ones that drew the line between us and them. And then the MAGA, there's a smaller percentage of us that are going to be crying foul when Antichrist shows up. And they're going to think we're nuts. Why do we always have to be like those people? Because we're going to cry nut. We're going to cry foul. We're going to try and warn these people that the guy they're championing, like this Walz bozo, or like the BLM thing, or like even Obama. People freaked out on me when I spoke against Obama before he got the ticket for the Democrats. they were like they couldn't understand why, I must be a racist because I was talking smack about this guy and how this guy was like a really, really bad news, because people don't have discernment. They had nothing to do with him being, he's not even, he's mulatto. And I know you can't say that anyway, so I'll probably get in trouble for that too. But you know what I'm saying? Because they were so afraid to speak against something that could peg them as a racist, because there's no critical thinking, right? It's like, oh, you hurt my feelings, all that whole, it's such a cockadoodle show. It's on purpose. That stuff's already been done. Why? So that when it gets even tougher, like it's going to get, it's going to be easier to brand us, round us up, and do that, because we're going to be saying, no, don't go with that guy. That's pure evil. Based on what? He just brought peace, economic stability, and he's reunited the three main Abrahamic religions. How is that bad? Isn't that what Jesus would do? That's what Jesus would do, right? How many non-Christian lefties are out there trying to tell us how we're supposed to be as Christians and how we're doing a really bad job of being Christians because we voted Trump and we're pro-Israel? I can't even tell you the amount of social media posts I see from non-Christian liberals telling me how I'm supposed to be a Christian and how I'm not being a Christian because I'm not being biblical. And they're all backsliders. So it's like, talk about a circus. It's a circus.
This time of year, thinking about what Kris, his opportunity, it's a testing of our faith. You know where it says that our senses get exercised? I can't find that verse right now, but a lot of testing of our faith is to be able to speak the truth in love. That's true. I mean, just yesterday, someone said, okay, how do I navigate this thing of Christmas, right? And I have to say, more than any other year, I remember growing up in Calvary and Vineyards, we never talked about Advent. They always had their Christmas thing. Everybody's lighting the candle in their churches now. I can't believe it. Even online, a bunch of these vineyards, a bunch of the churches are going, they're lighting the candles. And I'm going, okay, it's part of it. So this person asked me, how do you navigate this? We go through this every year. It's that place where if they'll hear you can speak in them saying, this is what's correct and this is what isn't. And yet there's a lot of believers that celebrate it. We're going there. We don't believe it, yet we're part of it. And we can still have fun too, right? Yeah, but we're coming to those days now that we need to use wisdom and be able to speak up when we get the opportunity. And more, I guarantee you, more opportunities are coming. This morning, you get the Nate Johnson things, and he said this, he goes, be careful about this season, right at the end of this season, of sharing too much of what you know. Watch out. Really hear him what you're going to share. That's what I took out of this one word. And yet at the same time, I'm going, a bunch of people are asking questions. I go, well, I got to tell them the truth. I also got to tell them what the Spirit of God's all about and what real love's all about. But yet I'm going to be truthful. And I believe he's going to put us in the territories where more and more we're telling them, here's the line. Which side of the line are you going to be on?
They're not even acknowledging that there is a line.
I know. And it's coming, baby.
And the line that we're drawing is the wrong line. It's, what I'm saying? It's going to be very interesting.
You said it. October 7th was a defining explosion.
I can't even believe what's happened because of that has happened.
I posted on my page the other day that thing that Emmaus Table did, Covenant and Controversy. It really speaks to this kind of stuff. And it was done really, really well. And I didn't get some favorable hits off of it. It's okay. I'm speaking up.
Explain to me how you can massacre my family and I'm the bad guy.
That's it.
Can you say Satan? I mean, he's the father of lies. It's his job. It's his nature to twist and pervert and skew and change the narrative and all, right? He's a liar and a murderer from the beginning. That's what Jesus said. Not Allan Aguirre, not Lenny Perata, not Chameleon Church. Jesus in the Gospels, in the red letters, said that Satan, Lucifer, whatever you want to call him, is a liar and a murderer from the beginning. That's his nature. And he's the ruling entity of this planet.
Yeah.
And he's pissed and he hates us. And he's trying to take as many of us with him as he can. It's all deliberate. So he's going to lie and murder. He's going to do all this crazy stuff. If you can attack my house while I'm sleeping, yet I'm the bad guy, that's how he works. That's how the Pharisees could say, oh, we never would have been. We never would have. We didn't kill the prophets. We wouldn't have been in that number. We wouldn't have gone with Korah. We would have stayed with Moses. BS.
Yes, you would have.
Body shock. That's what BS stands for. That's not true. That's a lie. We would have gone with Moses. We wouldn't have gone with Korah. That's a lie. The majority of you would have gone with Korah. I'm telling you that right now. We wouldn't have killed the prophets. The majority would have. You would have sided with the prophets, sided with the killers of the prophets. I'm just telling you, that's just the truth, right? Okay, when they enter the land of Canaan to wipe out the Nephilim, you're not going to tell me there was people on the side of the road with their Canaanite lives matter signs? Of course, there were. There was people that had Canaanite lives matter signs. How do we know? Baal of Peor, dude. The Baal of Peor scenario. 24,000 were massacred by God because of what happened with the Baal of Peor. 24,000 people raised up signs that said Baal worshippers' lives matter. That's what BLM stands for. Canaanite lives matter. Nephilim lives matter. Don't tell me. Insert yourself into the text. You need to insert yourself into the narrative. Otherwise, you're detached from it, and that's a demonic detachment because he doesn't want you to have a clue about what the scriptures say, about what's really going on and what's really going to happen with what the New Testament says. Because the more far removed you can be from what's really actually happening, he wins. You don't have to do anything wrong. You just have to be clueless, and he wins. And so once again, and I said this last night, you're watching The Lord of the Rings, and you identify with one of the 7 of the Fellowship of the Rings. You don't identify with the orcs. No matter how orky your life looks, you will never identify with the orc, and you'll never confess that you're an orc because most of you don't even know you're orcs. But one look at your life, you've got an orky life, buddy. You have an orky life, but you don't identify with the orcs. Right? There's that detachment again. Demonic disassociation. Your life looks like an orc, but you think you're one of the Fellowship of the Ring. And so my question is, based on what? What have you done? What do you do that warrants your identifying, your self-identification with one of the Fellowship of the Ring? And explain to me what it is that you don't do or haven't done that keeps you from being an orc. Because I'm telling you, man, that conversation, you're not going to like that conversation with Pastoral, because I'm going to make you cry, or you're going to take a swing at me. Those are the two things that always happen. And I'm just trying to help you. Because see, if you know you're an orc, if you can identify, if you can look in the mirror and say to yourself, yeah, that guy with the earrings is right. I am an orc. Now we can do something about it. See, I can work with that. You know, we were at a Passover deal at one time, and I was sharing the Passover story. There's other families there, you know, doing the Passover story. And I looked at the 14-year-old daughter at the table of this family and I stopped everything. I just looked at her as if we were the only 2 people at the table. And I went, you could give a crap about any of this, right? Right? You could give a rip. She goes, yeah. I'm like, I can work with that. This 14-year-old girl, unfortunately, she's not in a good place today. And this is like 9 years ago. But I called her out. I didn't call her out. I just let her know, hey, I know that you think this is all BS. Body shame. What's the word? Body scam. Body snatchers. I know you think this is all a lie and you could care less and you want nothing to do with it. And she's like, yep. And I'm like, but see, I can work with that because she's being honest with herself and with me. She's basically saying, I think you and your God stuff is nonsense. It's crap. And I'd rather not be here. I don't want nothing to do with any of this. See, I can work with that. What I can't work with, because even God won't even bother most of the time, is people that think, oh no, I'm good. I'm good with God. I'm right where I'm good. I'm good. I have an orc life, but I identify as no. But see, once we can get you past the layers of crap, to acknowledge that you're an orc, now we can start working with fixing the orkiness of your life. But as long as you don't understand or know that you're an orc, no one can help you. I mean, the Holy Spirit, what's he going to do? Override you? Override your orkiness? He doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, right? Doesn't it say draw near to him and he'll draw near to you? Yeah. Well, as long as you're an orc, I guarantee you're an orc because you don't draw near to him. See? So he's not going to draw near to you. He's a gentleman. He's not going to violate your rights to orkiness.
We need a new merch line. You live an orky life. You live an orky life. T-shirts.
Oh, I saw.
Don't be like John.
I'm getting Linda.
Get behind me and get you and your orkiness behind me.
Yeah.
I bought Linda a T-shirt for Christmas. It's just a joke one. It's called Biblical Womanhood. Christmas? Yeah, check this out. It's called Biblical Womanhood, and it shows JL putting a spike through what's his name's head. Have you seen that one?
That's like one of the greatest stories, man.
I know.
Don't mess with that, girl.
Or for Hanukkah, I'll get it for Hanukkah.
Liar, you got it for Christmas, dude. I saw your tree. I saw your tree in the. Didn't you see
no tree?
Chris, right?
Yeah, they're standing behind my house.
Lenny has like a 2 or 3 stage system of packing. Stage 1 is it's there for 10 to 11 months. Stage 2 is it's coming out because we're putting it up after these guys leave the house. And that's what we saw. We saw a little tinsel. And that we leave, dude. I bet you have a Christmas tree in your house right now.
No, we just have our Hanukkah lights up in the.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have your Hanukkah bush.
Our Hanukkah bush. No, we don't have a Christmas tree. We haven't had one for 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
But it's a cool T-shirt. She probably won't wear it, but. Puppets. Oh, here comes my coffee. Oh, yeah.
Good question. If a weak, evil king crafts a narrative to manipulate believers, is that on believers if they fall for it? No, because here's the thing, dude. Here's why. Well, yes and no. Here's what I mean by that. If the Holy Spirit tells us to vote Joe and Joe ends up being a bad guy, that's because God's punishing and he's using us to bring his punishment. And I know if we spend a few minutes on it, there's proof text. There's a biblical example of that actually happening. Right? Hosea. Is Hosea a schmuck because he married a prostitute? I mean, not Hosea.
Yeah.
Is it Hosea?
Yeah.
But no, he's not a schmuck because he married a prostitute.
God told
him to. There's other biblical examples of that. Let's think of one where God tells them to pray a certain way or prophesize a certain way, and we act on that move of God, but it was to basically Jeremiah. No, don't stand your ground and you'll be free in 2.5 years. Willingly go with Nebuchadnezzar into Babylonian captivity.
Yep.
That was the Lord. The Lord, what was God saying? Because it's very clear. It says, I didn't tell those guys to say that. I didn't tell those guys to run around all over the place preaching or saying that. No, here's what I'm saying. And Jeremiah was the only one saying it. The priests and the prophets and the people all wanted him dead because he was the only one speaking the word of the Lord. And the word of the Lord was, no, you're not going to be delivered. God's not going to deliver you in 2.5 years. In fact, you need to surrender and go into captivity.
This answers your question too to the Candace Owens and them. If it's not peace, then they go, that can't be God. And they're hating the fact that they're calling Pete Hegseth the Saturday Night Live, kill them all, kill them all, kill them all. Their minds are exploding. And even though he didn't say that, that is pushing the buttons. And are you kidding?
So here's another way to answer that question. It's a great question, Kevin. It's a legit question. The book of Revelation, the revelation of John doesn't happen to us. We cause it. And here's what that means. Let me break that down. We're praying for Jesus to return. We're trying to position ourselves in the spirit realm so that we can say in unison with the Holy Spirit, what? Come, Lord Jesus. That's the bride, right? But what does that mean? Praying for Jesus' return means what? Tribulation, Antichrist, false prophet, beast system, persecution, a whole bunch of bad stuff. But he doesn't come back without all that bad stuff. See, and so somebody said, if you don't have an Ahab and a Jezebel, you don't have an Elijah. In order to have Elijah, you're going to have an Ahab and a Jezebel. Well, in order for Messiah to return, you're going to have an Antichrist, a false prophet, a beast system, a tribulation, persecution. Look at Revelation. What does it say? The dragon goes and makes war with the what? Charismatic Torah observers. Christianity doesn't like any of that type of talk. They want it all to be copacetic. They just want to cruise, man. Why do you think that's why they don't bother with trying to speak in tongues? That's why they don't even try to bother with dealing with the spiritual realm or any of the stuff that we talk about around here. Why? Because that gets messy. And why do you think pastors don't promote that? Why do you think pastors don't disciple that? Why do you think pastors don't do any of that? Because and I wrote about what book did I write about this? And I explained this. Because that means they're going to have to roll up their sleeves and get dirty, their hands dirty. They're not going to do that. It's a lot easier just to preach their one verse exegesis on a Sunday morning and keep it cool. I just watched snippets of a local church and the Sunday morning sermons, and I couldn't believe. Well, I could, but it was disgusting. It hurt my tummy. Just how shallow and one-dimensional everything that came out of that pulpit was. It was like, and they're now the biggest church in the valley up here.
Yikes!
They've got 3 services now on a Sunday morning, and they just did trunk or treat. They just did this. They just did that. Right. No threat whatsoever. They're not a threat in any way, shape, or form, and they're growing. And they've got 3 services now, and I literally tried to listen to full sermons, and I could barely. And I was forcing myself just to get to 10 minutes because it was so shallow and one-dimensional. They were not telling people anything. And it's just the same rhetoric you've heard over and over and over and over from any church USA on any given Sunday. And it was like, but see, they're not a threat. They make people feel good about themselves and their little Christian lives. And that's what people want. See, they don't want to hear about death and dismemberment and imprisonment and hardship and being hated and persecuted and being dragged into the temple and killed in the name of God, and they don't want to hear any of that. But without that, see, so we're praying for the return of Jesus. There won't be any peace without Jesus. And so when we pray for peace in Jerusalem, we're praying for his return, because that's the only way it's going to happen. But in order for that to happen, well, because even though we're directly praying for the return of Jesus, for the peace of Jerusalem and the return of Jesus, we're indirectly praying for the Antichrist to show himself, for the false prophet to rise up, for the beast system to rise up, for the persecution of the church worldwide, and tribulation. I mean, how do you tell Christians that if they do this thing right, they're literally praying in the Antichrist? Indirectly. See, because I think I know where you. I think that your question was discreetly veiled. And in fact, let me text you what I think you're actually saying. Maybe that's not fair to do with people watching, but hey, whatever. I'm going to send you a text on Facebook. And that's the only way I can explain it. Jeremiah told the people, God's will is for you to go into Babylonian captivity. How would you like to hear that? No one wants to hear that. And they said, no, that's not God. Look at Joseph. In order for Joseph to do God's will, he had to go through what, 12, 13, 14, 15 years of absolute hell before he became second Pharaoh. Daniel had to go into Babylonian captivity to be Daniel. Daniel couldn't be Daniel outside of that. Who else? You know, Moses is going to have to tend sheep for 40 years on one side of the mountain, and then he's going to tend humans on the other side of the mountain for 40 years. I mean, this is just God's way of doing things.
Yep.
Well, I think it's God's way of doing things based on our breaking the covenant in the garden. It wasn't supposed to be. I mean, of course it was supposed to be like this because he knew it was going to be like this, but there was a better way. He didn't want us to be in hardship. That's why he did what he did the way he did it.
Oh boy.
Good question, though. It's a hard question, but it's a good one. But it's never going to look the way we think it's going to look. The majority of the time, it doesn't look like we think it's going to look. That's why I love those memes during COVID. What we thought the end of the world was going to look like, and it's like, Road Warrior, all this crazy, but they're in pajamas in their living room watching Netflix. I mean, it says that bad leaders are in position to punish the people because of their sin.
You know, if a person, don't be afraid of discernment, because remember, discernment, this just popped into my mind. If it's true discernment, it leads you to obedience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about Torah. It's going to, any type of discernment is going to lead you to obey God. That's the type of discernment we want. And he's very clear on those kind of subjects. I mean, look what even Paul said in Thessalonians. He says, no, those who have the light will know you're not in darkness.
Yeah,
you
but
are not in darkness.
Yeah. Isn't that weird how that's been taught? Absolutely the exact opposite.
Totally the exact opposite.
And so here's what we're talking about. There's no way we can know when Jesus is ever coming back, because it says no man knows the day or hour, even though that's not what that's.
Are you kidding me?
That verse is talking about at post millennium reign. Okay. Oh, look at this. Look at this guy. Hey, admins, sick 'em. So that verse is talking about post millennium reign, but the millennium reign, no one's talking about the rapture, Muppet. Anyway, so the pre-millennium reign is Jesus is right. No one can know the day or hour of the return of Jesus. That's not true. It literally says, if you're in the dark, you won't know the signs of his coming.
That's right.
But those that are in the light know the season of his return. He comes to those as a thief in the night, to those in the dark. That's the actual text in the New Testament. But it's taught completely the exact opposite. It's crazy.
Yeah. And the more you speak up about the times we're in, the more pushback's going to come. And you're going to get the pushback from the church. That's where the pushback's going to come. Because...
like we just saw in the comments?
Oh, yeah. In bold, big cats.
I mean, really? Don't you have something else to do on a Tuesday morning? Oh, my God.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Those that are asleep in the light, he comes to as a thief in the night. Those are in the dark. That's what it says. But those that are in the light, that are not in the dark, see and know the season of his return.
And the principle is the thief can't break in if you're in the light.
Yeah.
Because we're locked and loaded. We're locked and loaded. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. That's really, literally what it says. But people, they taught it differently. Because see, once again, it's a lot easier to teach that and to live like that. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Than to teach that. Oh, wait, that means I have to know stuff to be vigilant and to know the season of his return. That means I have to understand and know stuff that you can't teach me, Pastor. And so pastors don't, because they can't, because they don't know. See, that's harder, because now the pastor's going to have to figure stuff out. So it's a lot easier if I just teach that there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing that you can do to secure your salvation, or to keep your salvation, or to know that when Jesus is coming, is this, we're just flapping in the wind. That they like it like that, because it's a lot easier. It's less work for the pastor, and it's less work for the people. And if you start teaching that, they'll leave. And we can't have that, because then how are we going to pay for this new building we just built?
I just saw something really interesting. I thought it was Jack Hibbs. He's been to the White House. He's a supporter of Trump, and he's the Calvary Chapel of Chino Hills, big, huge church, real outspoken, down to earth. He's just a classic Calvary teacher, but he has another edge too. And he put on this big, what they do to get you, what's that called? The way they display their next message on YouTube. He goes like this. Oh yeah. He's talking about the Abraham Accords. He goes, oh yeah, this is leading us right to the coming of Christ because it's a false peace. Oh my gosh, you should have seen all the comments he got. Well, he wasn't taken away from his support for our government or Trump or anything like that. He was just saying, he goes, yeah, what's happening is what we talked about, the covenant of death. And he goes, it's all set up for the Antichrist to come in. And they didn't want to hear that one. They didn't want to hear that. They wanted to say, oh, everything that he's doing, it's going to bring about that peace and safety that we want. It's amazing the feedback he got because he told the truth.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want to do. You can't tell Christians the truth. You know, I've told people this for years. I've been telling this to people. If you ever raise the dead, don't tell anybody. They'll come at you. They'll crucify you. Keep it to yourself. Don't tell Christians. They'll come. They'll crucify you, man. It's
And by faith, the dead were raised back to life. And
You're listening to Chameleon Church. Biblical Antidotes for the Modern Man. With your host, Allan Aguirre.
The views and opinions expressed during our broadcasts are solely those of the broadcast producers, hosts, and/or guests, etc., and are not necessarily the views or opinions of the Travelog Network, its sponsors, or affiliates.